Welcome back all. Thank you so much everyone for continuing to get in touch, sharing your thoughts and opinions. It's hugely appreciated. The best place to do so, comment section below, and if you have a longer story, maybe with some pictures, you can email hi@tuesday@dobbs.com. I've had a few people this week sending me in amazing stories from biking trips and adventures, Arctic Circle, Morocco, places like this from the 80s and 90s. So I've emailed these people saying, please do email stories@thelibertatia.com. If you're happy to share these stories with me that I can put into volume 2 of the Lost Biker Stories, because I'm probably 2 months away from doing a final collation and gathering of all of these stories before I start putting the book together, probably in early autumn. So if you've got any stories from big road trips, 1980s, all the way through to 1999, and even earlier than that, I would absolutely love to receive them. Let's begin. Honda VFR. My bike of the week. Last week I said the Honda VFR. That is the perfect sweet spot. Modern day reliability and technology, but ruggedness and the sweet spot of build quality. 2002 onwards is what I said. Absolute truth here. I thought everyone would be praising me. I expected to check all of the comments and saying, Freddie, well done. That bike of the week, 2002 onwards, VTEC Honda VFR, well done. Good shout. No, I didn't get that at all. I got completely the opposite. Once you're in certain groups within biking, whether it be Triumph Bonneville owners, whether it be the Honda VFR owners, and you get a group of owners, of enthusiasts of a certain model, they really know the exact model to go for. So if I am wrong, then I will get called out very quickly, and that's exactly what's happened this week. So I found this fascinating. What, according to those who really know, is the ultimate Honda VFR to buy? Take a listen to this. I'll start with the feistiest one first. This is from Stuart. Freddie, you need to go back and fact check the utter crap you spoke about the Honda VFRs. Pre-VTEC, remember this, if you're interested in one of these bikes, get a pen and paper. Pre-VTEC, that is pre-2002, so the 800 Fi and earlier 750s, especially from 1990 onwards, with the gear-driven cams that set the benchmark for reliable high mileage over-engineered bikes. Kevin continues with this. The over-engineered Honda VFRs, they were actually the original 750s and 800s from the 1980s and 1990s. These had the gear-driven cams to overcome problems with cam chains and cam chain tensioners, which were a plague on the previous VRF models and almost ruined Honda. It was said that at the time, I love stuff like this, every VFR sold at a loss to Honda, given the extent to which they were over-engineered and the design costs and build quality required so as to rebuild their reputation. And certainly they were considered to be bulletproof in this era. That's 1986 to 1999. Because the 2002 onwards Hondas, these were the VTEC ones. I'll wrap it up with Nicholas. Freddie, I beg to differ on your bike of the week last week. Not 2002 onwards for the sweet spot. This is it. I own a 29,000 mile 1999 Honda VFR Fi, that is the 1998 to 2001 model, known as the Gen 5. I bought this for $1,650 a year ago. It's my second VFR 800, having had previously a 2004 VFR 800 VTEC model. Why is this interesting? Because Nicholas had the later generation VTEC, sold the later generation to buy the previous model. That for me is just fascinating in itself. How many other bike models are there where the most desirable model isn't actually the latest and greatest? So much so that some owners are selling their newer model to get the older, simpler models. Just finishing off with Nicholas here. The Generation 5, the older generation, had gear-driven cams. This is what everyone says. So no chain and the engines were far from stressed. This is the bulletproof engine. The later Gen 6 with VTEC, this was overly complicated, and even trying to get valve clearance check done will cost you an absolute fortune. And that's if you can even find someone willing to do it. Again, a lot of people were saying this. Valve checks on these VTEC Hondas, total nightmare. £1,000 to £1,200 people are getting quoted to get these jobs done. Right, I'm going to be looking now. I'm looking for my ultimate Honda VFR, the first word in quality and reliability for Honda. Some say one of the finest Hondas ever made because they were made at a loss. This did not make Honda any money. It was purely built to rebuild their reputation. So I'm going to be looking at a 1986 to 1999 model. I need that sweet spot of over-engineering. A couple of key dates. The 750cc was from 1986 to 1997. The 800cc pre-VTEC, 1998 to 2001. So actually we could go up to 2001 potentially. I found a lovely one. I'm really excited about this. I wanted to go for one of the earliest ones, just because I think it's fun, and I think there's something about this 1980s, early 1990s styling that is completely in fashion right now. Look at this one. Look at this beauty. 1989 model, all in red. This is what you want. I have owned this bike for the last 20 years. During this time, it's never failed an MOT. It's 36 years old, so there are some minor scuffs. The quality can be seen from the photos. It's been shot blasted, repainted 10 years ago. Excellent condition. Stood in my garage for the last 7 to 8 years without being used, so it does need a bit of attention. But this is still quite a fair price for what is borderline, maybe not even borderline, a classic Honda now. Sub £2,000, same owner 20 years. That, even though it may need a bit of work to get back on the road, that is exactly the kind of one I'd want from a bike as special as this. The sweet spot for the VFR. Thank you all so much, and I am so sorry for ruffling a few feathers with saying 2002 onward last week. I've been corrected. Moving on. This is, do you know, what I'm going to say now, it's nothing. I wasn't even planning on saying this, but I don't know if you're the same. A lot of the time, I just go onto Facebook Marketplace. I don't even type in a bike model. I just type in motorcycle, and I just see what comes up, and I had something amazing popping up. Sorry, I almost lost that for a second. It took me about 5 minutes to re-find it. I forgot to press save. This is what it's like if you want to find a niche vehicle. Just go onto Facebook Marketplace and just type nothing, or type Triumph, or type Kawasaki, or something like this. This bike came up, and I only wanted to tell you about it because it's so weirdly, brilliantly niche. 1979 Triumph Tiger 750. See, some of the best stuff comes up when you're not even looking. Soak in the pictures as I read this out. Seller's description. Triumph Tiger 750 TR7 1979 model. Beautifully restored, £4,500. First registered when exported to the Nigerian Army in Lagos in 1979. I then acquired the bike from the Nigerian Army headquarters in 1988. However, in 1989, repatriated to England with the bike. It was inspected by a DVLA inspector, approved and then registered, protected in my garage, lovingly maintained, kept nice and alive, always starts, second or third kick, matching frame and engine with genuine road mileage of 11,000 kilometers. Look at it! It's ex-Nigerian Army. That is the funnest background I've heard. If you want something a bit of history, there you go. Triumph Tiger 750. And now I'll get back to my normal stuff. That was just me off on a tangent. Next, is there a happy medium in the dual sport era of motorcycles? Something simple, tough mechanically, with modern reliability, and also, this is key here, affordable on the used market. This is an angle I wasn't quite expecting, but it's also an angle that we've had before. These bikes often come up and they are really highly regarded. I wonder if you can get it before I read it out. Fred, I owned a red Honda Dominator back in the year 2000. It was an early 1990s model. It had electric start, and I used to commute from Kent to Canary Wharf in London through the dreaded Blackwall Tunnel. I regret selling it, but I now have an old beep, beep, beep single, so that scratches the itch. Okay, something non-Japanese, single cylinder, scratches the itch and fills the gap left by Paul's Honda Dominator, BMW F650GS. This is not, Paul, you're not the only person to say this. I had 4 separate people. I'll read out one more here. This is from Tony. The happy medium for dual sport bikes is a BMW F650. Okay, there's no kickstart, but water cooled so your fillings don't pop out, and 48 horsepower can get you to Dover to start your adventure. I've been around Europe on a 2002 model, no problems at all, and it does 80 miles per gallon. For some relativity, my Triumph does 45 miles per gallon. That is incredibly impressive. This bike is the unsung hero within the BMW lineup. It's a bike that a lot of people forget about because it's not the biggest, it's not the fastest, it's not the most technological. It was a really good seller. It was used probably across the world, certainly across Europe. I know in Tenerife and Spain, the police like using these bikes. And that really is a hallmark of something good, strong and rugged. So you see these about still in service even now. I know that people on these have done world tours, 150,000 kilometers all the way around the world. So these bikes are trusted by people who really need something sturdy. I'm going to give you a little bit of history here on the bike because if you're considering one of these, I always find that some of the names of motorbikes are unnecessarily complicated. So it did take me a little bit of a while to kind of chart the background of this. So I'm going to lay it out for you now. Just like earlier in the podcast, if you're interested in one of these, you could get a pen and paper just to write it down because I'm going to try and simplify it. I really like these bikes, hand on heart. I'd consider buying one of these. So in 1993, BMW launched, this is the slightly confusing bit, the F650 Funduro. Immediately I love the name, but it was called the Funduro initially, originally manufactured by Aprilia for BMW, which I found fascinating enough in itself. Then in 1999, this is the confusing bit, BMW discontinued the Funduro, the F650 Funduro, and then in the year 2000, BMW launched the F650GS, which was marketed more as a mini BMW 1200 or whatever it would be, GS. But in essence, to the very best of my knowledge, it's basically exactly the same as the Funduro, just the branding, the marketing changed from the Funduro to the F650GS. Then finally, this is a bike I've discussed before. This is a cool niche bike. 2006, they launched the BMW F650GS Dakar edition. I really like that. MCN, Motorcycle News, say this: the BMW F650 is a workhorse and a powerhouse in one neat package. With loads of torque, there's power right through the rev range, taking you from town to country to motorways with relative ease. The BMW F650's smooth delivery makes for easy riding, and it's tried and tested, providing effortless welly, a very reliable, if perhaps little uninspiring motorcycle. Really, as the years go on, I always find that uninspiring element, I think that disappears because the age of the bike makes it more fun, makes it more inspiring. So even if it would have been considered slightly uninspiring back then, I think that disappears now, years on. 50 horsepower, 175 kilos. Relatively speaking, this is quite a light bike, really. Single cylinder. So what I want to do to find my dream F650, I want to find one of the original ones from 1993 to 1999. I want a Funduro, and the reason I want a Funduro, it sounds fun, for no other reason other than that. So let's see what I can find on Facebook Marketplace. Here we go. They're still easy enough to find these. I've gone for 1995 models, so 2 years after it came out. F650 Funduro. These are not huge money at all. £1,150. The owner says finally decided to sell it for someone else to enjoy. 41,000 miles, great commuter, very reliable twin spark, upgraded rear shock, great condition. See that high exhaust on the back, just utilitarian transport at its finest. It's not even that pretty a bike. There's just something about it. It's so utilitarian. I like these, and I think at that price, that is really tempting. I think someone's going to pick this up. I think at that price, with that reputation for toughness, let me know someone if you buy that. I reckon that's the kind of bike that someone will look at and think, you know what? Look, I'll take a risk on that. Why not? £1,000 for that. Fantastic. On now, £1,200 sports tourers. This is from Ed. Freddie, I wanted to share the great experience my friend Martin and I had picking up our own bargains. Last year we bought sports tourer motorcycles, spending only £1,200 each. My friend purchased a 2002 Kawasaki ZZR 600 and I opted for Triumph Sprint ST955. More recently, we decided to take them on a proper tour and booked a short trip to France with our partners riding at pillion. This is how versatile these sports tourer bikes are. You can pick them up for about £1,000. They're quick, they're mile munchers. You can have two people on the back, you can put panniers on them. They're very good bikes, these. These are really highly regarded. Again, a lot of people said, Freddie, these are not dead, the sports tourers. Huge amounts of people like them. And the classifieds, the used market for sports tourers, because people appreciate how great value they are. It's a really buoyant market, the used market for sports tourers. So both of the bikes performed faultlessly with pillions, despite nearing 50,000 miles on the clock and being over 20 years old. They really are so much bike for the money. We rode them all the way from Bristol to Cherbourg, and while in France we travelled down to Vannes and everywhere in between. The bikes didn't skip a beat, and that said, I don't think there's anything more fun than budget vehicle shopping. I don't care if it's for cars or motorbikes. Once you get down to about the £1,000 mark, just the fun you can have, because you almost get to a point where you're thinking, God, just one moment of madness, one simple click, and my Sunday afternoon has completely changed. I've done something that may be incredibly stupid, but for £1,000, it's got to be worth a punt. Here, Ed, here's what I found. This is my version. I'm going for a ZZR purely because I don't think I've looked for one of these before in the 600 format, and I will go for, I had to try and get sub 1,000, and I've done it. Listed 16 weeks ago. It's been for sale for a ridiculous amount of time. ZZR Kawasaki from 1999. Lovely bike, runs and rides, stops spot on. MOT until January. Reduced the price for a quick sale, in need of cash more than the bike. I mean, that is a fairly desperate seller, so you're going to be getting a good deal here. £900. And that is in lovely condition. The quality of the paintwork, that's a really smart bike. Let's say you could even squeeze to 850. We're talking the absolute entry-level point of biking full stop. Not of big bikes, but of any bikes, whether it's 50cc, 100cc. This is going to be less than most 125cc bikes. That's such insanely good value. And it was reduced from 1,400 to £900. That is one of the bargains full stop. Someone grab that bike because it's perfect. Ed, thank you. I move on now. Ooh, yes. Your feedback would be really appreciated here. This is from Amina. Bike crime destroying the ownership experience. Freddie, I've been feeling quite anxious about the safety of my bike. I own a 2014 Honda CB125F, which is a popular model and has a high theft rate in the UK. Recently I noticed that my anxiety around bike theft has increased, especially after hearing about thefts in my area and seeing someone eyeing my actual bike. It's gotten to the point where I don't even want to go out and learn to ride despite loving the bike. I've taken several precautions, such as investing in high quality locks and keeping my bike stored securely in my home. I've got the Lightlock X1, Oxford chain lock, data tag, and also the bike cover. However, I still find myself feeling on edge and struggling to enjoy my rides. I'd love to hear any advice or tips you might have on managing these concerns, or if you could simply point me to any resources or communities that could help. I don't know any other riders, so I'd appreciate any help you can give me. Amina. Amina, this is such a shame. It makes me angry, the state that we've got to, and I know the UK is not alone. There are a lot of other countries in Europe going through the same stuff, but there are too many parts in the UK that feel, damn flyers somehow got in here, that feel completely lawless in the UK. It's embarrassing when you watch Itchy Boots. She comes over to the UK, she goes to Wales. What happens as soon as she gets into Wales? Her Yamaha is stolen. The only other country in the world Itchy Boots has had another bike, coincidentally Yamaha, stolen, is Iraq. So you've got Iraq and Wales are the two places where her bike's been stolen. That's how insanely embarrassing and ridiculous it's getting in this country now. I've had my bike, 4 attempted thefts on my bike. Every single one of the thefts I've always had on, no, 2 of them I've had on a light lock. So Amina, you've done exactly the right thing. The best advice I ever really had with anything that relates to this kind of stuff is don't let the fear, whatever that fear may be, in whatever sector or circle, don't let the fear stop you from enjoying yourself. Don't let fear dictate how you live your life. So we all fear our motorbikes getting stolen, for example, but you just have to make sure that you're not letting the fear destroy your motorcycling experience. You're doing everything perfectly. You're being vigilant, you're locking the bike. You don't need to do any more. Just get out there, enjoy your bike. You do more than enough to look after it, and just have faith that it will be fine. Will that be misplaced faith? Don't know, but the point is, do not let the fear stop you enjoying the motorcycling experience. I don't know if that's awful feedback or not, Amina, but check the comments because there are always good people who are sharing it. But for me, the most important thing, get out and enjoy your bike and try and put all of that concern to one side, because that fear won't change your bike getting stolen or not. You do enough, get out and enjoy it. Forget about all of the theft going on at the moment, because your worry won't change any of that. Amina, I hope it goes well. And that's a perfect choice, the Honda 125, excellent little bike. And Amina, you have unwittingly led me on to the very start of my speech for Bike of the Week. Small bikes, simplicity defined. There's some magic about small bikes. Some people get it, some don't. I know the Americans often say, Freddie, come on, what is it about small bikes? The bigger the capacity engine, the better. Small bikes are just ridiculous. But for me, some of the most magical experience I've ever had motorbiking have been on small capacity bikes. And I will start this little thread with John. Freddie, I can't speak for Europe or Africa. Haven't been to those places. But I've ridden through Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand and India, and the best bike is a motor scooter. There are literally 1 billion motor scooter mechanics in these places, because that's what everyone rides. Parts are cheap, easy to fix, and you can carry way more stuff in more comfort. Don't forget, the average motor scooter seat is twice as big as a motorcycle seat, and you can cram 2 full backpacks in there as well. John, I don't disagree with you at all. It always takes me back this. Every time I go back to Bali, I always ask for the same scooter. Monica's exactly the same. 110 Honda Scoopy. I think they may only sell these in Indonesia and maybe some neighboring countries. They don't sell them in Europe at all. This is basically the simplest base Honda. They are everywhere in Indonesia, and there's just something about the style and the simplicity. I would rather that bike than any 300cc plus geared bike for getting around Indonesia. We've tried it with the bigger bikes, even with the Royal Enfield, and Monica and I, after a couple of days, we were so happy to get back on this Honda Scoopy. These bikes, I had a look, I did a rough translation. In Indonesia, Honda Scoopy, £1,200, and they are so reliable. We've had it, I think, the past 3 times we've gone to Bali, and there's never any concern for breakdown. The person who gives you the bike, they're not saying, look, if you break down, here are all the details. You take the bike and you head off and you go anywhere you want. And we've been off-roading, we've been on beaches, we've used and abused it in the worst, most torrential rainstorms. You leave it out all the time. You ride through water that deep with Bali's awful floods that just come around out of nowhere. And never once have we ever had any concern it would even skip a quarter of a beat. They are the most incredibly fantastic bikes, and they're so light. They're so easy. I was teaching Monica to ride one. Within 10 seconds, Monica was happily whizzing up and down the road. In fact, so much that I jumped on the back. So we had our laundry in the central bit of this Scoopy. Monica was riding it and I was holding on to the back as we were whizzing off to get our laundry done. It's just good, simple fun. I can't recommend it enough. So with that, not scooter related, but 125 related definitely, here we go with Bike of the Week. This is from Mark. People, please, I need suggestions for older 125cc bikes. I don't like the look of most new 125s, and I don't trust or want the fancy electrics. Also, weren't the older bikes faster? I'm a newbie, so all and any advice welcome. Elk Phaser says, I would suggest, and a few people said exactly this, I would suggest the Honda CG 125, but try and get as new a one as possible, as I'm sure the newer ones had a disc brake up front. I can't believe the old Honda CG 125s. They've been discontinued for 17 years. The crazy thing is, these were going from 1975 to 2008. Honda need to bring this back into the lineup. This would fit perfectly. It's just a nice, simple, semi-retro kind of proper motorbike, but entry-level sized bike. These were huge sellers. But I went on to Auto Trader. Any year at all, bear in mind these were made for 33 years. I found four on Auto Trader. The problem is they're the kind of bikes, they're such entry-level bikes. People use them, they abuse them, they're dirt cheap to buy brand new, and then they're probably just scrapped because seemingly the value isn't worth it. So they do get abused more than any other kind of bike, I would say. So only 4 of those available. I mean, look at that. They hold their value just almost stupidly well. 2005 model, 29,000 miles, £1,150. The second cheapest on Auto Trader, bear in mind, on Auto Trader, second cheapest is £2,300. That's a 17-year-old bike, the last year of manufacture. For £2,300, it probably cost less than that, brand new 17 years ago. That's how insane the residuals are on those bikes. But my Bike of the Week, my recommendation, comes from when I first started riding. I got straight onto the big test, basically. My first bike was a 500cc, and another friend of mine got a big bike as well, but one of our friends decided he would just do his CBT and then eventually upgrade. And the bike he chose after passing his CBT was a Yamaha YBR 125, the exact head-to-head competitor with the Honda CG 125. So let's take a look at these little Yamahas. Launched in 2005 all the way through to 2017, so these have only been discontinued about 8 years ago. Again, exactly like the Honda, the most simple styling with the circular headlamp. I think these are just perfect from an aesthetics point of view. Bennett's Bike Socials say this, and I love this, it sums it up beautifully. This fantastic little 125 is probably the cheapest and most reliable way into 2 wheels. Sold. Done. In fact, Yamaha have sold over 150,000 YBR 125s since its launch, and this is incredible for the UK, and 55,000 of them were to the UK buyers. But what is it that makes this basic little commuter 125 so popular? Let's be honest here, the YBR's main driving force is its budget nature. Not only can you buy one for next to nothing, the little blighter will run and run with absolutely minimal maintenance whilst also delivering 90 miles per gallon and costing almost nothing to insure. This is the cheapest form of two-wheel transport you can possibly ask for, and that's why the budget-conscious or newer riders turn to Yamaha's budget commuter. I wonder if that is the bike that ended up killing off the Honda CG. The times do kind of correlate. That's all I need to hear. If that little speech there was from a salesman in a Yamaha dealership, I would be giving him all of my money. Let's have a look what I've found for my bike of the week. Auto Trader again this week. This is just fantastic. £740. So if this were me, and if I were recommending a little 125 Mark, this would be my pick. Yamaha YBR 125, £740 with 17,000 miles on the clock. In grey, it's a 2008 model, 10 horsepower, and listen to this from the seller. The bike is old, but it still runs remarkably well. It reaches 60 miles an hour very easily, starts on the button every time, and will give you at least a few more years if you treat it well. It does have a few rust spots on it, but it's an ideal little commuter collection, or I can meet you in Suffolk or Norfolk train station once you've paid at least 20%. That is the kind of seller you want to buy from. Just trustworthy, oozing through those words there. And I'll wrap it up there with a little 125. That doesn't happen very often. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'll see you in the next one.